Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 M's in my bank account. Yeah, in my bank account.
Hey guys, this is Apple Advisor, and yes, I'm back. It has been a while, but if you guys didn't know, we just had, there was an Apple event that was just announced today. It was live, if you haven't seen it, and we're gonna be talking about that. And sorry I haven't been making videos. I've been wanting to make this video, but I really didn't have time. So now's the perfect time to explain what was in the event. I already knew this was going to happen, and I was going to tell you guys what was going to be in it. But yeah, it's okay. So now we're going to be explaining what was in the event, which if you can't already tell, it's 3 things have been announced. Some new iPad Pros, MacBook Air, and Mac Mini. Now, some of you guys know when I said I called it the iPad X. Now, obviously, it wasn't going to be called the iPad X because it wouldn't be the 10th generation of the iPad yet. So, I only called it an iPad X because it's going to be a full screen iPad. Now, those of you that can tell there's no notch, well, the reason why there's no notch is you can kind of see this is technically the same, not really the same iPhone X camera, but is what is used for Face ID to get your true depth camera to unlock your iPad with your face. So it's right here. So that means that it's almost bezel-less. I mean, you can obviously tell there is some bezels, but it's kind of good. Why? Because it's hiding the notch, and also the reason why it's not fully a full screen iPad is because just like with the iPhone XR also was announced last Friday, it is an LCD panel. Now, the difference between LCD and OLED is OLED, you can wrap the screen around so that way it can be full screen on your phone. But since this is still LCD, you can't really wrap it around. And so this is why it's still a kind of a bezel, but it is still less of a bezel than like the iPad Pros now. So with the new iPad came a new Apple Pencil, which is totally different than the Apple Pencil now. One in price, and keep in mind, I actually this time I didn't watch the event. I didn't really have time, but I'm just gonna have to rely on this. Some things have changed. If you can't tell, this is the microphone port, or at least I think that is. It's because now it's not on the back, because how they had to create this keyboard now. Since it's not wrapped around, it's kind of like a square. It kind of reminds me of the original iPad, if you think about it. So that's kind of why they moved probably the microphone here, because it reminds me of my microphone on my Mac. 2 different sizes. Now keep in mind, even though it's an LCD display, just like the iPhone XR, now I haven't seen it, but a lot of people like reviewed about it and said it's a pretty decent phone for the price. And I knew that. And I knew that it's going to be like, it's not making sales now. You know why? Because they're waiting for Black Friday and Christmas. So that's why it's not selling as good. So like if you go to an Apple store and see if you can get a XR, you can obviously get it, because many people aren't going to get the XS Max or the XS or the new phones yet. They're going to wait until Black Friday, when these will be out of sale. Like, they'll be sold. sold out because they're waiting. Apple has a good strategy of like, not, I mean, they released it, but they know that their sales are going to be better when it's Black Friday and during Christmas, because that's when most people are actually going to buy it as gifts. They're not going to buy it right now because they're going to wait until the sales and stuff. So, I mean, I'm not going to say this is all screen. To me, there's still a bezel. Now, if you didn't notice what it's doing, now, I don't know, I don't have an iPhone 10 or 10s or 10s Max to tell you if you can tilt your phone sideways to unlock it, but with this iPad Pro you can. You'll be able to unlock it Face ID horizontal or portrait, or no, landscape or portrait, my bad. With the Apple Pencil now, that's just what let me see this. Oh, okay, never mind. I thought they were talking about the Apple Pencil, but basically, just like an iPhone X, and if you guys do have an iPad and you upgrade to iOS 12, what's funny about it is they already had the gestures ready of an iPhone X, and that's how you could tell they were ready to release this type of iPad, because if you use like even my iPad, I can use it just like an iPhone X. So that's pretty funny. I already knew that it was gonna happen. They call it a liquid retina display. I call it LCD display because it still is an LCD, but they did have to make it where it is bigger than the LCD that it is now. Same liquid retina display concept as the iPhone XR. ProMotion technology, which makes the colors more vibrant, like how it is. True Tone display, which I already have on my iPad. It's basically when sunlight or like any light, it'll adapt to that and it's better to see. Face ID, which I told you guys, and that's where the aka notch is. And it just basically explains. They also do have a new keyboard, because keep in mind the design did change, because now it's more of like an iPad 1 design, but yet again you can't really use an iPad 1 case for that. But so it's the newest A12X Bionic, which don't quote me on this, I think this is in the iPhone XS Max, but I'm not sure. What else? It's saying how it's 2 times faster. Just look at how nice it looks. Like, this is just 2K. Like, it looks pretty nice. So this is the Apple Pencil. So it is not your ordinary Apple Pencil like this one, where it has the lightning cable, and it's not really a matte finish. There is going to be a side right here, which is what happened. Let me see if I can find. They have finally chosen, Apple has finally chosen to now go to USB-C standard for now the new iPad Pros so far. So that is actually really good, because now USB-C is now the standard charging port for most phones and even the new MacBook Pros. And yeah, so that is cool that they did move to USB-C. And I've heard that in the Apple event, I did see, like, not the live event, but people that were watching it, I saw people reviewing it, and they were saying how they did say that even maybe the iPhone will go to USB-C next. We'll see. So that is the reason why you can't plug this in. So what they invented was magnetically pairing and charging, which means with this with this Apple Pencil, when you stick it to the side of the iPad, you know, like where the magnetic part is, it will also not only pair it, but you can also charge it like that. That is why it has that little ridge on the side, like the little. Well, I mean, I haven't seen it yet to show you, but it's not round like this. You can also supposedly you can double tap. I didn't see the event to explain to you what that does. What else? The new smart keyboard works now with it's basically the same one, but they had to change it so that way it can work with this. USB-C, already talked about that. The camera, you know what this camera reminds me of? Oh, and this is where, what just happened? This is where the antennas are for the iPad now. It's different than what it is now, so it is different. They did change it, and the camera did get bigger. Reminds me of like an iPhone 7 or 8 camera. It's a 12 megapixel camera, 4K video quality. You can use it obviously now for animojis. You can now do animojis. That's crazy. 10-hour battery life. And they're supposedly saying it's the thinnest iPad. Haven't seen it to tell you if that's true or not. So that's basically it for the iPad. Now let's move on to the MacBook Air. Oops. Right here. So the MacBook Air, which, let me see something really quick. Okay, so it's weird what they did with the MacBook Air. I like it and I don't like it. Now, this does look like a normal MacBook Air, kind of. But now it has the USB-Cs. It's now more modern than what it was before. Like, now it has a better display. Look, it still has that MacBook Air logo. So they finally upgraded the display. Now it's almost full screen, unlike the MacBook Air from before, it does have it. I'll show you. Whereas this one, it wasn't full screen, and also it has those big bezels. I hate that. This at least looks more modern compared to like the MacBook Pro and the MacBook Pro lineup and things like that. It has Touch ID now, which is cool because I do miss Touch ID myself. I hope because if they still have Touch ID on the Macs, I feel like they're going to bring it back next year, hopefully. And there was rumors that they're going to do the fingerprint display. They were going to do it this year, the in-screen fingerprint display, but they didn't have time for it. They couldn't figure it out in time, and so that's when they released Face ID instead. And there was a patent that was released, and patents are basically when you say you create something. You create a patent so that way no one steals your idea, you know. And so Apple made a patent for an in-depth fingerprint sensor. I'm sorry, I keep saying the wrong thing. And so hopefully it comes in next year's iPhones, hopefully, and iPads. So with that Touch ID, it has, your normal keyboards. I do believe, hold They still got the butterfly mechanism, but now it has a Force Touch trackpad, unlike the original. Goes up to 1.5 terabytes. That's crazy. To me, if you really want a Mac, I feel like this one, like, I know it's still expensive, but you can get the gold version for 128 gigabytes for $1,199. I'm not saying that's expensive, and I'm not saying that's cheap. So it's your choice. I mean, you're getting an Apple computer that's reliable no matter what. Some people could say, "Oh, Macs are trash because it sucks at gaming." Well, it's not really that big of a gaming computer. More MacBooks and Apple computers in general sell, like, for use in school more than gaming, and that's what Microsoft has the advantage of, because now the gaming PCs all run on Windows 10. So that is basically why. It's your choice if you want to pay $999 for the old MacBook Air, but in my opinion, you should get this one because you can get it in 3 different colors. You got 2 different storage options. There is no, what do they call it on here? Touch bar on the MacBook Pro, like how you can get a touch bar like right here. You can't get that, but they do allow Touch ID on the MacBook Air, which is good. So it's a good thing that they did update the MacBook Air because it really needed it. So now let's go to the last thing, which is the Mac Mini. Now, it's been a long time since they updated the Mac Mini, and they finally released one. I wonder if it just comes in that option. Hold on one second. Okay, yeah, it does. It only comes in space gray. So if you're gonna get the Mac Mini, just remember it only comes in this color. So, they definitely updated it. I mean, the color is different, but that doesn't really matter. But you get 5 times faster system performance, 6-core Intel Core i7 processor, which is probably, I think, one of the latest. 4.6 gigahertz turbo boost. That's pretty good. 60% faster Intel integrated graphics. So that's better for graphics, like when you're gonna do stuff like, not gaming, but .8 times faster than 16 gigabytes. I'm not really into that much about that stuff. You can get up to 2 terabytes of storage. That's crazy. I can't even use 1 terabyte, let alone 2 terabytes. Like, that's pretty good. I don't even know that. It's basically all the security stuff they're trying to do. I mean, if you own a Mac Mini, it is worth the upgrade. I mean, you are getting a faster computer, obviously. Those who have a monitor, like a good monitor, and they want a Mac, but they don't want an iMac that's expensive, the Mac Mini is pretty good, but you gotta know, like, what are you using it for? Are you using it for school? Are you using it for gaming? I mean, personally, Macs itself, I'm even gonna admit it, they're not good for gaming at all. I mean, it's not Apple's fault though. It wasn't meant, like, to be a gaming computer. It's more of meant to be for schoolwork, if you're doing photography, things like that. So there are 2 different options: a 128 gigabyte storage, 256. Where'd I get the 2 terabytes of storage from? Where's that at? Oh, something I didn't tell you. There's now Thunderbolt 3, USB-C. There's a bunch more of those. You still got the headphone jack. You still got the Ethernet. 2 USB, 3 ports. But where did I see the 2 terabytes of storage? I saw it somewhere. Oh, SSD storage, not... Okay, so that's not like the actual storage that it can hold. It can hold up as SSD storage. That's different. So that's basically it. Sorry I was a little late, but I mean the event was today, so basically it was just a recap of what happened today. So the verse of the day, I haven't been doing this in a while, is 1 Peter 3:14. But even if you should suffer for what is right, you are blessed. Do not fear their threats. Do not be frightened. And so, thank you guys for watching. Sorry it took a long time. Basically just a recap of what happened on the event. If I did miss anything, I'll do it in the next video explaining like what I missed. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and hope to see you in the next video.